6 for farewell. Snake, ram, monkey, boar, horse, tiger. Her dad's rapidly performed hand seals blurred so fast Haruhi barely registered them before a massive fireball erupted from Kaji's mouth, shooting out over the lake with ferocious power. A huge, rotating, burning sun hovered over the steaming water, sending waves of heat whipping across her face. Haruhi squinted into the inferno anyway, admiring the flaming brightness. It was lethally dangerous and scorching hot, yet oddly beautiful. Dad stepped aside and gestured towards the edge of the pier. Now you try. After years of clan training, Haruhi had recently learned to mold her chakra into the fire element. But there was a difference between igniting a campfire without matches and shaping a small meteor of solid flames. Snake, ram, monkey, boar, horse, tiger. She was slower with seals, since Haruhi had to concentrate forming each one, mindful that the snake seal compressed chakra tight, that the energy blended out during the ram seal, that the monkey seal added tension. The boar and horse changed the element, making her stomach tightly hot. And when she ended on a tiger seal to trigger chakra eruptions, she held it back a moment longer to build up pressure, giving it a little oomph. Fire style! Great fireball jutsu! And then Haruhi was breathing fire, big and wildly uncontrolled, spraying across the lake like a flailing flamethrower. It was such a rush. Haruhi was like a dragon. Her blood boiled with exhilaration. Or was that the fire? Serious? And where was that whispery sound coming from? Her chakra drained out of her like water from a fire hose, converting into more and more fire. But still Haruhi kept pushing, trying to ignore the echo in her ears. Yet it didn't go away. It was growing louder, and all at once it rushed before Haruhi's eyes, transporting her to another place, another time, another world. Serious? Holly muttered, unable to stand it a moment longer. Can I have a word now? She walked into a dark pantry, followed in by Sirius. Without preamble, Holly told her godfather every detail of the vision she had, including the fact that she herself had been a snake who attacked Mr. Weasley. Did you tell Dumbledore this? Asked Sirius. Yes, said Holly impatiently. But he didn't tell me what it meant. Well, he doesn't tell me anything anymore. I'm sure he would have told you if it was anything to worry about, said Sirius steadily. But that's not all, Holly said in a voice only a little above a whisper. Sirius, I think I'm going mad. Back in Dumbledore's office, just before we took the portkey, for a couple seconds there I thought I was a snake. I felt like one. My scar really hurt when I was looking at Dumbledore. Sirius, I wanted to attack him. She could only see a sliver of Sirius's face. The rest was in darkness. It must have been the aftermath of the vision, that's all, said Sirius. You were still thinking of the dream, or whatever it was, and it wasn't that. It wasn't the dream, said Holly, shaking her head. It was like something rose up inside me, like there was a snake inside me, like I was... someone else? You need to sleep, Holly, said Sirius firmly. Careful, Haruhi! Your aim! Haruhi gasped, but it was already too late. Her sleeve had caught on fire. Yeah! She screamed. The jutsu ended and she flailed around wildly to shake off the flames. I'm on fire! On fire! Stay still, Haruhi! Dad grabbed after her, but she was flailing too much. Hot, 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 hot! Her dad picked Haruhi up, and next they went over the pier's edge. They plunged under the surface, quenching the fire with a plop and a sizzle. Haruhi broke through the surface spluttering, and immediately checked over her arm. Her shirt sleeve was singed crispy, and her wrist looked a bit red. But all in all, she didn't feel anything. I didn't know I could set myself on fire, Haruhi exclaimed, kicking her legs to keep her head above the water. I didn't either, her dad said. Haruhi gaped. She hadn't 40 degree. Was she that bad? Her dad cracked a smile, and then he was laughing. Haruhi was torn between embarrassment and confusion, but her dad's rare laughs made it impossible not to join in. She was still laughing when her dad swam over and lifted Haruhi easily up onto the pier. She staggered, her clothes loaded heavily with water even after most of it sloshed onto the timber. I should have brought towels, Dad mused, chortling as he heaved himself out of the water too. I'm sorry, Dad. What happened? Haruhi bit her lip nervously. Had she fallen asleep? During a ninjutsu? It had been vivid, like she'd slipped into another state, and things hadn't gone well, had it? She'd been so distracted Haruhi set herself on fire. That couldn't happen again. I messed up, she murmured. This is why we train fire techniques by a lake, Haruhi, he said, wringing water out of his shirt. Do you understand what you did wrong? Haruhi shrugged. The fire was big. It was, he agreed. It had a lot of kick, but no structure. Right, Haruhi nodded. It wasn't round, like yours. No, yours was more like a fire spray than a fire globe, Dad stated. And you set yourself on fire because you weren't conducting the structure right. Shape manipulation is what does that. I'll train hard, Dad, she insisted, looking out over the calm water. He patted her on the shoulder. We'll come back to this. We need to put some burn paste on your arm. I have some in my medicine kit back home. Dad stood up, but before they could go, his attention fixed on something up the hill. Haruhi followed his line of sight, spotting Aunt Mikoto and Uncle Fugaku. They'd stepped off the path on the raised hill alongside the lake and were heading towards them. Good afternoon, Kaji-san, Uncle Fugaku said. Hi, Kaji. Aunt Mikoto smiled between them. Hi, Haruhi. Did you have a training accident? Was it your fire jutsu we saw over the hill? Her dad patted Haruhi on the head, but even with her aunt and uncle here, he didn't look too upset with her failure. It was. I was teaching her the Great Fireball Jutsu. That's a big one. Aunt Mikoto's eyes widened. The jutsu is a coming-of-age rite for us Uchihas. She's far from mastering the jutsu. The fire is supposed to be shaped as a globe and rotate, Fugaku remarked, to devastate the area of attack and make it harder to escape. I know, Uncle, Haruhi nodded. Sasuke and Itachi's father was a no-nonsense kind of man. Haruhi often thought her own dad was strict, but Uncle Fugaku was on another level. She didn't see him a lot, but the few times he was home when Haruhi was over, he didn't have much patience for her. It didn't bother her. Overall, her uncle didn't have much patience for anything but clan matters, police business stuff, and maybe Itachi. She's young, Fugaku-san, Dad said. Perhaps too young. No! Haruhi protested. I'll do it. I just got distracted. She whirled back to the water, determined to master the Great Fireball Jutsu and prove her uncle wrong. But when she raised her hands and pulled on her chakra, her body jolted. The blistering skin on her hand ached, but worse was how heavy her limbs felt. Her coils were raw, her stomach turning. She'd used a lot of chakra on that first fireball. How much was left? Could she hurt herself if she tried again? But there were worse fates. What if she made a fool of herself in front of Uncle Fugaku? Fortunately, it never came to that, because her father grabbed her shoulder before she could voluntarily give herself chakra exhaustion just to save face. Not tonight, Haruhi. You need to put burn paste on that arm. You should, Haruhi. It's important, Aunt Mikoto said kindly as Uncle Fugaku sighed and addressed her dad about something else. We set a time, Kaji-san. The meeting will be tomorrow at sunset. So soon? Her dad's hand slackened, falling off her shoulder. At the shrine? Yes. I expect we'll see you and Inori in attendance, won't we? Yes, Fukaku-san. We'll be there. Haruhi lost interest and tuned out their dry adult talk. So boring. Instead, she peered down at where her feet dangled over the water. Her arm was red, starting to swell, and it was prickling unpleasantly. And when she leaned outwards, Haruhi met her mirror image's eyes. Gentle waves rippled against the pier and distorted the reflection. The bending water making her ghostly reflection look as if she had a scar across her face. The bluish lake leaving her eyes tinted green. Haruhi picked up a stone and threw it in the dead center of her face with a splash. She had to practice better focus. These dreams were not okay anymore. Not when they resulted in burns and failed jutsu. For a dream, the consequences were too real. After slathering on a generous amount of burn paste and enclosing it in bandages, her dad went to cook dinner while her mom waited in the living room with sewing equipment, ready to look over Haruhi's ruined shirt. Her mom hummed thoughtfully, examining the damage. Mom was as good as making and mending clothes as dad was at cooking, so despite the damage, Haruhi knew she'd make it as good as new again. Except, it didn't quite go as expected this time. You're old enough to mend this yourself, Mom decided, handing her burnt shirt back. Oh. Haruhi fidgeted with the blackened fabric, running her thumb over the crispy edge where the textile had burnt away. She'd expected her mum to fix it. But I've never done that. I'll tell you how, and then you'll do it. You need to learn, sweetie. I promise this will not be your last crispy shirt. What if it happens on a mission, The ability to sew and mend your gear is a necessity. You never know when quality stitch work might save your life, her dad called out from the kitchen, his head sticking out of the doorframe. When mending a torn weapon pouch, or sewing together a hole in your shirt, fix up a tear in your backpack, or to patch someone's skin together to stop them from bleeding out. It's useful in a lot of different situations. A basic skill for any good ninja to master. Haruhi sighed, but judging by the determined glimmer in her mother's eyes, there wouldn't be a way to wiggle out of this. If we start now, maybe we'll have this done before your dad finishes dinner, Mom said. Get me those scissors, sweetie. First we start by cutting away the burnt fabric. Haruhi's second year in the academy came and went, but the competition never eased up. Though she retained the top ranking overall of their year, Neji refused to let go of his #1 spot in Taijutsu too. She trained every day, but after injuries, blood, sweat, tears, and a handful of existential crises, Haruhi still couldn't overtake him in that class. Neji kept scoring better at Taijutsu. How? What was she doing wrong? And worse yet, he was still trying to beat her in the other classes too. What was he trying to pull? Why couldn't Neji just accept being number 2? It was as if Neji's goal in life was to overtake Haruhi's top ranking. As if. By the time their second year glided into third, Haruhi still retained a shaky hold of the #1 spot, even through an increasing amount of pressure and competition. And not only at school either. Sasuke had started the academy, and it was as if he'd become obsessed. Despite being a year younger, it was becoming clear to Haruhi, Sasuke was another Neji. Sasuke didn't have a rival in his year, because no one threatened his top scores. He was king of the class with no close contenders. So he'd figured out the obvious. His competition was at home. Sasuke seemed determined to be the best of the younger Uchihas, the same way Neji wanted to be the best of their year. Stupid boys. They'd only achieve that over Haruhi's dead body. As Haruhi climbed up the grades, their workload increased too. The lessons were harder, they had more homework, and their sensei logged their physical performances very closely. Most of it was individual work, but every now and then their sensei would split the class in two for cooperation grades, or, even more rare, divide them into groups for a project. A few months into their third year was one such instance. They were covering the different career paths offered in Konoha, and when Fumino Sensei first asked, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" Haruhi thought it self-explanatory. Weren't they all studying to be ninjas? But it wasn't as straightforward as that. There are many different specializations within the ninja field. When you enter the working forces, what will your path be? Will you work in the border patrol? At the tower? Maybe some of you want to be a teacher, like I am. Does anyone have a dream? A goal you're aiming for? Fumino Sensei asked. Let's hear them. Everyone looked uncertain at each other, hesitant. Haruhi raised her hand, getting the ball rolling, but Tenten was only just behind her, so Fumino Sensei ended up calling her instead. Yes, Tenten-chan. What do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a medic as great as Tsunade-sama! That's an excellent goal, Fumino Sensei nodded approvingly. And you, Haruhi-chan, what do you want to be when you grow up? I am going to be a police officer like my parents and keep Konoha safe. A solid career path. Anyone else? Yes, Yatago-kun. Yatago wanted to join his brother in the message division and work with summons. Taiko said he wanted to join the police too, while Makaro wanted to be a jonin. Rock Lee boldly declared he'd prove everyone wrong. I'll prove to everyone I'll be an excellent ninja with only taijutsu alone. One day I'll be the strongest ninja in the village. Which was a goal so ridiculous coming from the dead last it sent half the class into hysterical laughter. Fumino Sensei spent the next minute getting everyone back on track. All the while Haruhi kept an eye on Neji. Even if Neji was an infuriating git, he happened to be one of the strongest and hardest working students she knew too. But what was it for? What goal was he training so hard towards? Surely, all that effort wasn't just for the sake of being a thorn in Haruhi's side. She didn't find out, because Neji never raised his hand. All of your goals are examples of specialized career paths, Fumino Sensei told the class, writing down the bullet points on the blackboard. It's wonderful so many of you have already decided on a future occupation, but there might be some of you who are still considering their options. And amongst those who've decided, don't forget that looking into alternatives doesn't hurt. Maybe it'll change your mind. He teased. Because we're going to have a project where everyone will learn more about the different career paths. I'll divide you into groups, and each unit will pick a career at random. Together you'll do research, put together your findings and make a presentation which you will perform for the class. That way we all learn about the different possibilities. Haruhi did not mind learning more about the careers within the ninja ranks, but when she turned to Taiko, expecting she would get to pick who to work with, it turned out Fumino Sensei had already made a list of groups. He decided who had to work together, to the dismay of several. Can we switch? I want to work with Yatago, Fumino Sensei. Makaro pleaded to change his assigned group and pointed to his friend. We always work together. No, Fumino Sensei said sternly. There will be no switching. You'll make do and work with the group you've been assigned to. But Sensei! Taiko protested, looking very unsure at his group too. Haruhi felt sorry for him, since Taiko was stuck teamed up with Rock Lee and Neji. Talk about bad luck. No swapping, Taiko-kun. That's final. You'll have 3 weeks to complete this project. Fumino Sensei noted down the date on the blackboard and pointed at it. And you'll hold your presentation Saturday in exactly 3 weeks. Got it? There was a scramble of noise as everyone reorganized around the room to sit in groups. Haruhi didn't mind her group. Shio was a good researcher, and their third member was Tenten, another decent student. Hi, Haruhi! Tenten had packed her things together and came skipping across the classroom. We're working together. Everyone settled? Finono-sensei called. Yes? Good. I'll be going around with this hat where I've put slips of paper in. You'll pick your topic from it. Makaru's group drew a slip of paper with the word interrogator on it. Neji was the one to draw the paper from their group and picked Hokage, which was an unfairly cool one. Yatago picked out vet, and the next group drew gate guards. Finono-sensei made his way through the room. Haruhi watched her classmates select titles like border patroller, field medic, and administrator, until their sensei reached their row. Since Haruhi was closest, she got to draw the paper. Her fingers scraped along the bottom fabric, noting there were hardly any options left, but pulled one out. Cleaning agent? Haruhi read slowly. Then again, was this right? What, like a janitor? They're ninja? Tenten asked in disbelief. Finono-sensei smiled. That's up to you girls to learn. Go investigate what they do, and I'll be looking forward to your presentation. Leaning in for a better look, Tenten squinted at the paper as if hoping the characters would magically rearrange themselves into a different meaning. Haruhi placed the paper on the desk with a sigh. Do either of you know any cleaners? I think my clan do their own cleaning at the police station. They don't hire outsiders for that. My mum might, Shio said. She's a nurse, and I'm pretty sure there are janitors at the hospital. What do we do? Tenten mused. Find a janitor and ask them how they do their job? Haruhi shrugged. As good a place to start as any. On the first week of their project, they interviewed 6 different types of cleaners. A janitor, a garbage man, a maid, a dishwasher working at a restaurant, a window cleaner, and a laundromat owner. It's a decent start, but only half of these cleaners had any ninja overlap, Haruhi told the girls that Saturday. After the academy was out, Haruhi had invited Shiho and Tenten to her house so they could work on their project. Haruhi was used to cousins stopping by at all hours of the day, but this was the first time she'd invited friends from outside the clan. Trying to be a good host, Haruhi made them tea and served it with fruits for snacks. They could have worked from Haruhi's room, but the house was empty, and there was more desk space to spread around the dining table, so they set up a temporary office in the kitchen. The janitor at the hospital had a ninja background, and the laundromat owner did as well. The maid finished the academy too. Shio listed off on her fingers. Are we missing any occupations? Tenten mused, a finger moving down the list of suggestions they were researching. Anything and anyone who had anything to do with cleaning had been scribbled down. Maybe we could ask the maid what fields. Haruhi trailed off when she heard the front door open, followed by Shisui's voice ringing through the house. I'm home! I'm here! They didn't hear anything for several seconds before Shisui peered into the kitchen. Visitors? He asked curiously, just as Itachi appeared behind him. She hadn't heard he was here too. Hi Itachi! Haruhi smiled. Good afternoon, Haruhi. We're working on a project together, Shisui-ni. These are my classmates, Shio and Tenten. Haruhi pointed them out in turn and then gestured to the doorway. That's my Shisui-ni over there, and that's my cousin Itachi. Shio stood up, hands nervously straightening wrinkles on her skirt, and bowed politely. Nice to meet you, Shisui-san, Itachi-san. Nice to meet you too. You have a very nice house, Shio remarked. Yes, Tenten agreed, naturally more perky next to Shio's stilted awkwardness. And I like the neighborhood too. You even have a yard. I live in the village center and it's never quiet. Here though, I can hear the birds. The village center is pretty far, Shisui agreed. It is very different, isn't it? Shio glanced over at Tenten to see if she agreed. Yes, I think it's because there's no graffiti or pipes going everywhere. It's tiny. Tenten grinned. Orderly. Well, they're the police, Shio pointed out. What else could we expect? Still, the Uchiha district isn't like the rest of Konoha. It's like its own exclusive section, enclosed and private. Maybe that's why we don't get a lot of outsiders in the district anymore, Shisui remarked, breaking into a wide smile. You're a rare sight in these parts. He winked teasingly at her friends, causing Shio's face to go pink. Yugao visits? Haruhi countered. A slight crease formed between Shisui's eyebrows. Yes, Yugao. He didn't say more, but made his way to the cupboards, plucking out 2 instant ramen cups from the top shelf. Shisui handed both to Itachi and picked 5 more for himself. Really? Itachi wrinkled his nose, glancing meaningfully between Shisui and his instant mix of chicken-flavored noodle soup. Not fancy enough for you? Shisui challenged. You want to cook? Their cousin sighed. It's fine. You're going to ruin your appetite before dinner, brother, Haruhi said, mimicking their dad's warning tone. We're not staying long. We're heading out soon. Again? I thought you were home from your mission, she complained. You've been gone for 2 weeks. I'm sorry, Haruhi. I'm just grabbing a bite to eat, dropping off some laundry and fetching some fresh clothes. Then it's back to work. Shio pushed her glasses up her nose, her cheeks still pink. That's not adequate time to rest. You may want to remind your squad superior of the minimal cooldown time between the end of a mission and the beginning of another is 12 hours, to give soldiers time to sleep, prepare and finish reports. Is it? He turned to Itachi for confirmation. She's right, Itachi said, filling a kettle with water and firing up the stove. Though there are exceptions, emergency responses, wartime and such. Huh. Shisui shrugged. I guess I need to have a serious talk with my squad superior then. Their cousin frowned. Squad superior? Wouldn't that be yourself? It is. Shisui nodded seriously, tapping his temple. I'm doing it right now, see? He put on a fox stern voice. Bad, superior. Don't you check the rulebook? You need to think of work hours. Shio and Tenten laughed. Itachi smiled, but Haruhi didn't quite manage. You're never home anymore, Shisui-ni. Her brother sighed. I can't pick when I get missions, Haruhi. I can't always make time to train with you. So how come you always make time for Itachi? Haruhi almost said it, but instead she rolled her eyes and reached for her tea. Everyone always said the same thing. Shisui and Itachi were as close as brothers. Never saw one without the other. But what about her? Hey now, don't be like that, Shisui said. Besides, Mom and Dad know just as much about ninja stuff as I do. Can't they help you? They're at work too, Haruhi muttered. They were always working these days, coming home around bedtime. Except the mornings, where she usually saw both Mom and Dad. For the last few weeks, Haruhi had spent the hours after school with Inku, or over at Sasuke's house, eating and dining with him and Aunt Mikoto. Besides, Haruhi hadn't asked him about training. There was always someone available to help. It was one of the best things about being part of the Uchiha clan. When her immediate family got busy, there was always someone to turn to. Cousin Tekka had given the younger Uchihas an introduction to sensing last weekend. Aunt Mikoto helped Haruhi with shuriken training after dinner just yesterday. And a week before that, she'd been busy doing obstacle runs with cousin Izumi against Sasuke and Taiko for an entire afternoon. No, it wasn't that. It's just... something seemed different. And Haruhi wasn't the only one to notice. Sasuke said Uncle Fugaku and Itachi were almost never home for dinner anymore. And Taiko remarked on how his Uncle Inabi, despite being a newlywed with a baby on the way, was working long hours at the police station too. Her parents, Fugaku and Inabi were all police. But Shisui and Itachi worked in the regular forces and for the Hokage. Those were different divisions with barely any overlap. So why was everyone busy? Haruhi looked between her brother and cousin. Is something going on? No, why do you think that? Shisui asked steadily. The boiling kettle gave a shrill whistle, and Shisui went to pour water into the ramen cups, asking, "What sort of project are you girls doing?" Feeling like he just changed the topic on purpose, Haruhi had a mind to press the topic, but Shio answered his question, derailing the conversation. "We're researching cleaning agents in Konoha," she explains. "Why? What does that help with?" Each group were assigned a different occupation to research, and we've got cleaning agent. We're researching what sort of people can fit that title. There are maids, janitors, garbage disposers, laundromats, window cleaners. Honestly, cleaning agent is a very broad term. She mused, tapping the back of her brush against her cheek. "I get it." Shisui nodded. "There's also mission-related cleanup work." Shio and Tenten straightened at attention. "Such as?" Tenten asked. Her brother hummed thoughtfully. Well, years back when I was a young, innocent Genin fresh out of the academy, I blew up a training ground." "What?" Haruhi squawked, but Shisui kept talking as if he hadn't heard her. "And, because I didn't know any earth jutsu to put the ground back where it should have been, I had to pay someone to fix it. Those would be considered cleaning agents too, wouldn't they? Fixing training grounds and such. I know Konoha has maintenance workers for the training fields on rotation." "You're right, Shisui-san." In her excitement, Shio rushed to take notes. "We've overlooked those who work with landscape maintenance." There were also cleaners after the attack on Konoha when the Ondaime Hokage died. Itachi mused. They were ninjas, cleaning up the wreckage and bodies. Haruhi tapped her chin with the back of her writing brush. "You mean the attack when I was little?" "Yes." The Ondaime died when the nine-tailed demon fox had suddenly appeared in the heart of Konoha and ran rampage, decimating half the village and murdering countless people, among them the Hokage, who died a hero killing the monster. That tragic night also happened to be Haruhi's first memory. She'd only been a year old, but recalled glimpses whenever someone brought up the topic. Most of her recollection consisted of an overwhelming sense of fear, an instinctual terror. But when she tried really hard and focused, Haruhi also imagined a towering, orange glowing monster roaring furiously under a full moon. She pictured chaos, and being jostled around in her mother's arms while she fled. Haruhi thought Shisui had been there too, but she wasn't sure. Her brother didn't talk of it much. None in her clan talked about it, especially not their dad. Because the Ondaime Hokage, Namikaze Minato, had been her dad's teammate on Team Jiraiya growing up. Haruhi walked past her aged Genin photo in the living room every day, and hardly gave it any attention anymore. But there had been instances she studied the strangers and wondered who they'd been, finding it absurd how that blonde pretty boy next to her dad was somehow the same hero who killed the Kyuubi, the same stern man carved into the Hokage mountain. Haruhi just didn't see the likeness. "The Kyuubi attack?" Tenten started, but Shisui cut her off rather abrupt. "It needed cleanup," her brother said shortly. Tenten glanced worried over at Haruhi, as if concerned she'd said something wrong. But Haruhi shrugged. People got weird about the topic. It had been a horrible attack where a lot of people died. If Haruhi's toddler brain had been able to recall the stress, surely those older had a far more vivid recollection. Generally, ninjas have a constant demand for workers who can restore or maintain areas around Konoha, either after training accidents or attacks. Do you know any other kind of cleaning agents, Shisui-san? Shio asked, pushing her glasses up her nose. There are ninja who erase their tracks, Shisui mused. I guess being trained in hiding and evasion could be considered a form of cleaning agent. How? Haru said dubiously. That doesn't sound like a cleaner. It depends on what you consider a cleaner and what you need to keep clean. Does it have to be something else, or can it be yourself too? Erasing scent, footprints and noises is another way to keep things clean. During a certain type of mission, the more classified ones, it can be mortally vital you can clean your tracks, make sure you can't be followed, or make sure no one knows you are there to begin with. That's a form of cleaning agent too, cleaning up a scene, or manipulating the clues to mislead those who'll come searching answers. Oh, like Mum has to deal with, Haru realized. Yes, a criminal could change things at a crime scene to prevent getting caught, maybe stage a scene to point the blame on others. Shisui nodded. But it's not only criminals, that sort of stuff happens in the field too. What if you infiltrate somewhere to retrieve a scroll and must make sure not to leave tracks? What if you end up in a fight and blood is spilled? Would someone who cleans up to erase the signs of battle be considered a cleaning agent? Haruhi met Tenten's eyes, the two exchanging uncertain looks. Shio tapped her fingers against the tabletop, deep in thought. I would say it's likely. The possibility of those counting as cleaning agents are high. So it counts! Tenten looked excited about the project for the first time since Haruhi drew that paper out of the hat. Not so fast. Shio held up a hand. A most likely isn't the same as confirmed. Further research is required before we can confirm those occupations fall under our research parameters, Tenten-chan. But you heard what Shisui-san said! I did, but don't get ahead of yourself. Just because their jobs include some cleaning tasks doesn't make them a cleaning agent, Tenten-chan. Or where do we draw the line? Would anyone who can operate a shower count as a cleaning agent? Then I'm a cleaning agent too, Haruhi laughed. Come on, Shio, Tenten sulked. It'd be much more exciting if we could talk about real ninjas who do cleanups in the field instead of janitors mopping floors. It's not about what's fun, it's about what's fact, Shio said firmly, straightening her papers into a neat pile. They're not always the same. Just because it's the fun answer doesn't mean it's the right answer. Shisui caught Itachi's eye, and several unspoken things passed between them through that glance alone. Itachi finished stirring his instant ramen and said quietly, True. They're rarely the same. They spent the second week following up on Shisui's tip, especially those who fixed training fields. They were unmistakably ninja too, with elemental affinities and a creative jutsu arsenal they used to keep up their duties. Within a hidden village for ninjas, training fields were in high demand, and there was never a lack for work maintaining them after some overeager team wrecked it too badly. Since they'd been to Haruhi's the first week, they went to visit Tenten next, pooling together their research and categorizing them. Shio was in her element there, seeming to get energized writing essays and comparing findings, while Haruhi and Tenten were the opposite. To keep from falling asleep, they let Shio have her fun while the other two started on a poster to use for their final presentation. But by then it was getting late. Tenten's parents rewarded their hard work by inviting Haruhi and Shio to eat dinner at the barbecue next door. The third and final week of their project rolled around, but Haruhi managed to kick it off by oversleeping. That Monday morning, her alarm failed to go off while she dreamt of swimming deep under black waters, searching for a lost loved one in murky depths. The poem of an eerie mermaid song whispering warningly. Come, seek us where our voices sound. We cannot sing above the ground. And while you're searching, ponder this. We've taken what you'll sorely miss. It had been a stress-inducing rush. Searching blind, swimming against the rushing currents and the flow of time alike, He was like her brother, closest family. She couldn't let him drown because... Past an hour, the prospect's black. Too late, it's gone. It won't come back. She'd swam and swam, finally locating an underwater settlement of alien creatures, when at last she glimpsed them. They floated still in the water, eyes shut and unresponsive. And next Haruhi woke up, only to find another kind of time rush awaiting. She stared stupidly at the quiet bed alarm clock, thinking numbly, why didn't it ring? Is my clock wrong, or does my class really start in 15 minutes? In a panicked flail, Haruhi fell out of bed with a yelp. Why didn't you wake me? Haruhi cried, jumping down the hallway past Shisuini while wringing on her jumper. Not only was it inside out, but she'd ended up squeezing her head through the sleeve and her arm through the head hole. It was only as Haruhi corrected the wardrobe malfunction she registered how unusual the morning attendance was. Her parents were gone, but Shisui was home. It was usually the other way around. You're home? Shisui said curiously. Well spotted, Haruhi bit out sarcastically and pointed at him accusingly. You should have woken me up! My alarm isn't working and you're the worst! Now I'll be late for class! You can get it by yourself, that's not my job, Shisui argued. Yeah, clearly. Can't rely on you for anything. I thought, late, 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 Haruhi chanted, dashing over to the table to throw her books into her backpack. I'm going to be late for a very important date. Shisui watched her, arms folded and an eyebrow arching. If it's that bad, I can get you there faster, he offered. Haruhi whirled back to him. Oh? He rolled his shoulders. Sure, get your stuff and meet me outside. Haruhi didn't have time to visit the bathroom or eat before she was out the door. At the far end of the patio, Shisui bent down, back straight and arms out at his side. Climb up on my back and hold on. For real? Yes, for real. Thank you, Shisuini. Haruhi used the patio as a runway, dashing as fast as she could until she reached the end and leapt. She landed with a thud on her brother's back. Shisui grumbled. Was that necessary? You're the best, Haruhi said, clamoring for a better grip, sharp elbows and thin arms closing around his neck. You gonna run us there? Careful, don't grab my neck! Compliantly, she adjusted to grip his shoulders instead. This is going to get fast, so don't fall, will you? He warned her, securing a better hold of her legs. Alright. Shisui held his hands up in a seal. This close, Haruhi could feel it. His chakra activated, surging up from within before snapping out to envelop them. Shinshi no Jutsu. Her world blurred at chakra-enhanced speed, barreling through a tunnel of stretching lines. It was so fast she had to squeeze her eyes shut, and if her brother's jutsu wasn't keeping her tethered, she'd have fallen off from the sheer speed. The speed beyond what her muscles could withstand. One viciously fast trip later, they stood in the academy yard, coming to a jolting stop that nearly sent her heart up and out of her throat. A couple students startled, looking up at their abrupt arrival. The most kept on their way towards the building. The clock hanging over the entrance showing she still had 3 minutes until the bell rang. Wicked! Haruhi's feet felt like jelly when Shisui let her down, the solid ground feeling wrong after the adrenaline-pulsing weightlessness of the previous speed. Even so, Haruhi couldn't stop laughing. That was so fast, Shisuini! Like flying! I've seen you do it, but I didn't know the body flicker was like that! Shisui chuckled. That's why they call me Shunshi no Shisui. Can you teach me? Please, Shisuini, please! Shisui ruffled her hair. It's a bit advanced for you. There are steps involved before you can use that jutsu. Dad taught me the Great Fireball Jutsu, Haruhi reminded him. That's a coming of age rite, and I did it! That means I'm of age to the clan now. You mastered it? Yes. Even the shape manipulation? Because I heard you said yourself... I said I mastered it! Haruhi rushed to say in a whisper, Neji and Makara had just passed by, and she couldn't risk them overhearing something embarrassing. I can show you right now. No need to burn down the academy to prove it. I believe you. The bell rang over the courtyard, signaling the start of the first class. Harui had to go, but Shisui followed, walking her up the door. We'll have to set off time another day. Harui frowned. Like when? What about this weekend? She turned sharply in her tracks, hardly daring to believe. You'll be home? I'll try to. Shisui held up the door for her. You can show me your great fireball jutsu. And you can teach me the body flicker, she exclaimed. I can be Shunshi no Harui. We could be the Shunshi no siblings. Shisui barked a laugh. I'll tell you what. If you can learn the academy technique, the replacement jutsu, by this weekend, which is a precursor to the body flicker, then I'll tell you how to do the body flicker jutsu, you little copycat. Deal! Harui stepped into the hallway, even as, for the first time ever, she considered skipping class. If she didn't go, maybe Shisui would teach her right now. But no. Without a perfect attendance, Neji might overthrow her ranking. So reluctant and dragging her feet, Harui headed inside. Bye, Shisui! He waved back, framed in the doorway. See you! As much as Harui looked forward to the weekend, there were plenty of things to do in the meanwhile. Harui talked Funa no Sensei into demonstrating the replacement jutsu during lunch. And when she got home, Harui found a note next to her fixed bat alarm clock, listing helpful tips from Shisui. He was gone again, but her brother had written down what she should focus on in preparation for his lesson. The week passed quickly, and Harui, Tenten and Chio finished their presentation with time to spare. They'd put together a scarlet poster titled Cleaning Agent, in sparkly letters written with golden glitter, and glued on colorful drawings of different types of cleaners alongside neat rows of info boxes, courtesy of Shio, who had beautiful calligraphy and was really smart. Harui always knew Shio was smart, but it never seemed to matter when her unimpressive physical scores dragged Shio's grades down. It was the Ninja Academy after all. Being able to fight was what mattered, not thinking. But working with Shio on an intel-focused project highlighted this side of her. When it came to theory and facts, Shio was brilliant. Harui had truly lucked out with her group, unlike some others. She'd overheard a good deal of bickering from Taiko's group. Neji and Taiko had snapped at each other throughout Taijutsu class, and for what she'd glimpsed, their poster was dreadfully boring too. Just basic beige with writing on it. As for Rock Lee, Harui wasn't sure he'd contributed anything at all. Overall, it seemed most of their classmates had left everything to the last moment instead of spending the full 3 weeks as Harui's group did. Though Harui's group had everything ready before the end bell rang that Friday, they decided to go visit Shio's home to practice what to say during the presentation. Unlike Harui and Tenten, Shio's family didn't live in a house but an apartment. It had 2 bedrooms, bathroom, kitchen and a living room, but everything seemed cramped. Harui's house was very spacious. Maybe not as big as Sasuke's house, but hers wasn't small either, and this wasn't even half the size of that. I'm sorry, I know it's not what you're used to. I mean, we don't get clan backing. My mother is a nurse, and my father works mostly on the patrol roster. It's expensive, you know? Shio mumbled. It's nice, Shio. It's very homely, Tenten said. Harui agreed with her. It was small but charming. It's great. Thank you for inviting us. Really? Shio flushed. Oh, no problem. Come, I'll show you my bedroom. Shio's bedroom was small. When Harui stood in the middle of the room, she could reach everything. Bed, nightstand, desk, dresser, and a wall-long bookshelf stuffed above its recommended capacity. It was actually impressive how much she'd squeezed into the limited shelf space. Are those your mom and dad? Harui pointed to the family photo on a desk, depicting a younger Shio, maybe 6 or 7 years old at the time, and she was standing together in front of a shrine with a couple so photogenic it was noteworthy. Yes, that's my parents and me during New Year's. Shio's mother had a movie star-worthy smile, tan skin, teal green eyes and long blonde hair. Her dad had wavy auburn hair, big blue eyes and sharp features. They took care of their appearance too. She could tell from how well their red kimono matched and the way they posed. But it was so at odds with the child in between them, little nerdy Shiho. With her round, thick-framed glasses, ruffled clothes, an awkward smile, pasty pale skin from staying indoors reading and the constant unkept state of her hair, Shio didn't look much like either of her picture-perfect parents. Haruhi had unruly hair too, but she tried. It just couldn't be tamed. While Shio had normal hair she couldn't be bothered to brush. Your parents look nice, Haruhi told Shio. They are. Mom will be home after work with dinner. She said you were welcome to eat with us. Thank you, Tenten said. Your mom's name is Momo, right? Yes, it is. Shio nodded. But Dad is out on border patrol. He won't be home until Tuesday. Tenten fell onto the bed, making herself at home with the air of someone ready to waste the afternoon away. Shio sat down at her desk while Haruhi remained standing, looking between them expectantly. Should we practice the presentation? Haruhi suggested, clapping her hands together. They went through everything 6 times, doing adjustments as they went by adding on a clarification to Tenten's part and cutting down some of Shio's. She was brilliant, but prone to droning on way too long. After 2 hours they called it done, though when Shio protested, wanting just 1 more repetition. As if they'd believe her. Shio had said the same thing 3 times now. Tenten and Haruhi took matters into their own hands. Grabbing an arm each, they dragged the bookworm along to the training ground outside the apartment building. It was a public one, shared with the area, fenced in rusted chain links, torn open in a couple places, graffiti laid like a tapestry up the poles, and the grounds a mosaic of cracked pavement. This is the replacement jutsu. I've been working on it this week, Haruhi explained while doing a demonstration. The trick to the replacement jutsu, or substitution jutsu as some called it, was to find an object of similar size to use as a counterbalance. As the name suggested, the point was to replace yourself with the object. Tiger, boar, ox, dog, snake. Haruhi engulfed her chakra around a bench. It was bigger and heavier than her, which demanded a larger chunk of chakra than if it had been closer to her measurements. Though in a puff of smoke, Haruhi was snapped across the training ground at eye-watering speeds. The bench catapulted the other way. Like a rubber band snapping, they'd switched places. Ta-da! Haruhi threw her arms in the air, standing in the bench's earlier spot, while a seat was left upside down next to Shiho. It wasn't supposed to tumble around in the air. It was something she needed to work on. Awesome! Tenten whooped, applauding with exuberance. Isn't the replacement jutsu required to graduate? Shio asked, poking at the bench curiously, checking it was still in one piece. It is, Haruhi confirmed. We're not supposed to learn that for years. And Haruhi already knows it! Tenten gasped. You're so strong, Haruhi. I wish I was part of an elite clan like the Uchiha too. Can you teach me? Sure. It turned out Tenten wasn't half bad. She didn't master it that afternoon, but she was quick to memorize the hand seals, and was making steady headway right off the bat. Though Shio was another matter. As much as she excelled in theory, she was hopeless with chakra. It was like she had no control, and though she was subpar in taijutsu, it was still better than what she could do with her chakra, which is how they ended up giving up on the jutsu in favor of doing light acrobatics. Haruhi demonstrated for the others the correct way to do a standing double tuck. Whenever Haruhi wasn't doing backflips herself, tumbling across the training ground like a rolling barrel, she was making sure neither of the other girls fell on their heads. Shiho needed all the help she could get. She was too concerned with the many ways she could get hurt. When pushed to try to do a double tuck backflip, Shio had the right form, right momentum, but as she threw herself backwards, she'd suddenly go rigid, freezing up. Hadn't Haruhi dived in to catch her, she'd have cracked her head in two on the pavement. You have to follow through, Haruhi said seriously. You can't leap and change your mind mid-air. That's why that keeps happening. If you stop chickening out, you'd do it perfectly and then you wouldn't get hurt. I know, Shio sighed, disappointed. But I can't help it. I just freeze. Then don't freeze. Stop it. Stop it? And how am I supposed to do that exactly? Just do it. That makes no sense. It's not about making sense. That's your problem. Get out of your head, Shio. Just feel. Trust your body can do it and commit. To rub it in, Haruhi threw herself backwards, leaning into the momentum for better speed. Her fingers barely flicking the ground, and next she was rotating down the courtyard in perfect backwards tumbles. Faster and faster for each one until she had to stop, or else crash into the fence. See? Like that. Haruhi chuckled, brushing her hair back. Shio scowled. Tenten could do 2 loops in a row. With Haruhi there to spot her, lending a helping hand when she got unsteady, Tenten managed to do 5 in a row and broke her previous record. It was a lot of fun, except... With her face red from jumping off the fence while doing a double tuck, Haruhi spat out a mouthful of hair and plucked the rest out of her eyes. Her hair's thick and heavy texture made the strands slip out of the ponytail and get in her face. I need to cut my hair. Why haven't you? Tenten mused. Her dark brown hair was long and straight, but she tied it into 2 neat buns atop her head, without a strand out of place. Haruhi had no idea how Tenten did it. Haruhi's hair could never. My mum normally cuts it, but she's been busy lately. Haruhi explained, kicking a rock on the ground and sending it flying across the yard and through the dead center of a hole in the chain link fence. That's too bad. Shio nodded understandably. Just as Tenten had a brilliant idea. I know! Why don't we cut it? And, like the dimwit she was, Haruhi eagerly agreed. A terrible decision later, Shio's mother Momo returned home from the hospital. I'm home! I hope you girls are having fun and built up an appetite, because I brought ingredients to make teriyaki. Momo called from the hallway in a sing-song voice. Haruhi barely registered a single thing, too distracted with a more immediate catastrophe. Momo came into the living room, maybe even prettier in real life than her photographic counterpart, though her brilliant smile slipped away at the scene before her. Her gaze snapped from Shio's distressed expression to the discarded scissor on the floor, up to Tenten's nervous smile, to where Haruhi sat staring horrified into a hand mirror, thick chunks of black hair drizzled over the tabletop. Like snippets of clues on a crime scene, Momo put the pieces together at once. Oh girls, what did you do? An hour later, Haruhi decided Momo was a witch. Against all odds, Momo transformed her disastrous hairdo into something presentable. Though no matter how she evened out the cut, it couldn't change that Haruhi now looked like a boy, like a mini Shisuini. You're fortunate to have thick hair. Like this, the upper layers covers the bald spots in the back. Momo mused, readjusting strands to lay a specific way. Tenten and Shio were sitting very quietly on the couch, because Momo had set them to do lines for punishment, writing, I am an academy student to become a ninja, not a hairdresser, repeatedly until Momo was done fixing Haruhi's hair. To make sure they took it seriously, she would look over and grade their calligraphy too. When Haruhi asked what her punishment would be, Momo patted her shoulder apologetically and said gently, Nothing, dear. Your new hairdo was a harder punishment than you deserved. Haruhi dreaded her parents' reaction. Dad hadn't been pleased after Shisui came home with pierced ears after her mission, a couple hoops sitting along the upper arch and making him look super cool, in her opinion. Though that was also why her brother hadn't been allowed to grow out his hair too, which was a bit strange to Haruhi. She was quite sure Mum had one of those piercing holes along the upper ear too, though she never used them, only the more traditional ones at the bottom flip. Though if Dad had been irked by something that small, this was worse. Harui's hair now looked like every example of shabby appearance their dad had lectured Shisui about. After Moma had resuscitated Harui's hair, she made them dinner, which perked them up again. Everything seemed just that little less dire on a full stomach. "You look cute. I actually think you suit short hair," Tenten speculated, eyeing Harui with a critical eye. There was a knock on the door, and Momo stood to get it while her daughter tried and failed to comfort Harui. "And even if you don't like it, it's only hair. It will grow out again," Shiho said, logical as ever. "My dad's going to kill me," Harui mumbled, running her hand through her hair. "I look like a boy." It felt wrong, so light and airy, and when she combed her hand through it, her fingers ran out of length much faster than she was used to. There was nothing to grab. "Harui-chan, it's for you," Momo called. "Your aunt is here to take you home." Harui put down her chopsticks. How odd. It wasn't that late, so why was Aunt Mikoto here? Why was anyone? Harui normally walked home alone. Harui said goodbye, thanked Momo for her hospitality and aid, and stepped into the hallway where Aunt Mikoto waited. "What's going on?" she asked, but Aunt Mikoto took her hand and tugged her towards the staircase. "Have you had dinner?" "Yes." "Were those the girls you talked about, the ones you're doing a project with?" "Yes," Harui repeated. Why was she making small talk? Wasn't there something more important to say? She followed her aunt down the narrow staircase to the entrance landing and out into Konoha. The sun was only just starting to set, casting long shadows down the busy street. Instead of clarifying why she was there, Aunt Mikoto asked instead, "How was your day?" prompting Harui to share about the academy and her day with Tenten and Shiho. Though the closer they got to the Uchiha district, the more Harui felt something was off. Something was different. After all, Aunt Mikoto had yet to lament about the state of Harui's hair. She hadn't even mentioned it. Something had to be wrong. They were almost at the Uchiha gates when Harui pulled on her aunt's sleeve, not able to stand it. "Is something the matter, Aunt Mikoto? Was it Sasuke? Itachi? Maybe something about the clan?" Her aunt took a deep breath, an unusual tightness tugging on her eyes. "Why don't we talk about it at your house? Your parents are waiting." "So there is something," Harui said. "What's going on, Aunt Mikoto? Is Mom alright?" Aunt Mikoto's expression faltered, morphing into something hard. Her aunt was always graciously composed, soft-spoken, kind, and always so perfect. Maybe it came with the position of clan matriarch, but this? It was something else. It was a sharpness that could cut, a sharpness that spoke of anger. Or was it pain? "I am so sorry, Harui. It's about Shisui." Aunt Mikoto bent to Harui's height and placed a hand on her shoulder. "He's dead." "What?" Harui heard her perfectly well. It's not that. She just didn't buy it. No way. Shisui? Dead? What was she playing at? Her brother wasn't dead? No. He couldn't be. Shisui was going to teach her the body flicker this weekend. Yet Aunt Mikoto's face remained cast in such a strange expression. "I'm so sorry, Harui," she murmured, arms reaching out as if to hug her. Harui jerked backwards, slapping away her hand. No! Her brother wasn't dead! She'd worried something had gone wrong. An explanation for those long hours Mom and Dad had been working maybe, or at worst a mission injury. But this was beyond ridiculous. Her aunt was lying, or being tricked. Harui didn't know how, but Aunt Mikoto was wrong. No. She set off running, taking the straightest path home, even though it meant leaping over the fence into the baker's backyard, through their bushes and onto the main street, driving forwards as if chased. A ghostly wind whipped at her heel, its chill snapping at her ankles, dogging her steps like something was herding her towards home, to answers. She ran as fast as she could, sweating and panting and yet feeling nothing but numbness. Haruhi dashed up the patio, recalling how she jumped onto Shisui's back only days before. She pushed the door open, running in with her sandals still on and ignoring the stifled, broken sound from the direction of the kitchen. Instead, she turned left, past the bathroom, then her room until she reached her brother's, and stopped dead. The shogi door to her brother's bedroom had been left open, and for a wild moment her heart sang, because Shisui was sitting on the bed. Haruhi blinked, clearing her vision and breaking the illusion, the wistful dream snapping into brutal reality. That wasn't Shisui. Dad? Haruhi had to push to make her voice work. Dad sat on her brother's bed, his head bent down, clutching onto a crumpled piece of paper with white-knuckled hands. The tightness in her chest twisted sharply, making it hard to breathe. Her dad was a strong man, a rock-solid pillar who never crumbled. So this was all wrong. Seeing him like this set off alarm bells in her head, because what on earth could be so horrible, so terribly devastating, that it could break her dad? Dad, she pleaded. Where's Shisui? But he only gave a wordless shake of the head, and she saw something shimmer on his cheek, even as he wouldn't look at her. It dawned on Haruhi what the sound drifting through the house was. Crying. Her mother's broken sobs drifted through the walls. So then, did that mean that her big brother was truly dead? The pressure in her eyes grew immense, tears making it impossible to see. Her breath came out as ragged gasps and her limbs had gone weak. She had to clutch onto the doorframe for support, and even then Haruhi sank to the floor, surrounded by her brother's belongings. Let it be a dream, an evil genjutsu. Release! But nothing changed. Haruhi couldn't break this illusion. There was no waking from this nightmare.